Welcome to the Sacred Emergence Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Wong, and I'm so thrilled that you're here. This is a place where you'll be guided to living your most aligned life so that your truest, most radiant self can emerge. We'll be jamming on topics ranging from spirituality, entrepreneurship, to wellness and lifestyle design, and everything in between that can support you to grow, evolve, and shine, all the while not taking ourselves too seriously. So if you're ready to step into your leadership, break through limiting beliefs, own all of who you are, and expand in abundance, grab yourself your faith cup of tea and let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Sacred Emergence. I hope you're all having a beautiful, beautiful day. It's Michelle Wong here, and I am so happy to introduce to you our guest for this episode. Vivi Dahms is joining us right now from Ontario, in Ottawa. And Vivi is the adventure fairy. And oh my God, Vivi, I'm really excited to have you on. Welcome.
Hello, Michelle. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my goodness. So you're the first person on the show where we're going to be talking about travel. And yeah, and you're actually the perfect person because of just like your dedication to exploring, to adventure, and to having fun. To like, I love how, because we're connected through Figure Six, our mastermind group, but even like just seeing you online and you post like someone sharing a picture, right, from South Africa, you're like, oh, that must be in South Africa. I'm like, of course, Vivi would know that that's in South Africa.
Oh my goodness. That's so funny. I mean, yeah, but if you've been to the place, it's highly likely that you recognize it, right?
And it's like, Vivi's been to South Africa. She's been to Zimbabwe. She's been to Brazil. She's been to, right? Like you've been to all these, like, these are all on my list. So let's like rewind because I want to know how it started for you for your adventure traveling. Like what started? Like how?
How did it start? That's a good question. I asked myself that question too. I think there's two possible stories. So I'll start with the very, very beginning. My parents, I'm German, right? I just live in Canada because I'm a nomad and, COVID. But my parents are actually German and they were born in the eastern part of Germany where they were not allowed to travel back then. And, back in the days, it wasn't that easy to travel. So once like Germany opened up and people, like the country reunited and people could like go wherever they wanted to, my parents started taking advantage of traveling. And obviously it was much more difficult back then without the internet and like money wasn't that like, available and accessible, and it wasn't that cheap to travel as it is now. And then my parents were told that they were not able to have kids, or it would take them like a lot of miscarriages to have kids. And my parents went to Sri Lanka. And they climbed up this like beautiful temple. And by the way, I've actually never shared the story now that I'm talking about it.
Oh, I love it. Oh
they climbed up this beautiful, massive hill with this temple on top. And they met this person up there, Sri Lankan person, guide, whatsoever. And he told them like, this is the perfect God to pray for luck if you have certain wishes. And my mom told me that my dad gave an offering to this temple, and that shortly after she got pregnant. And she knew that she was pregnant, but when she went to the doctor, they always told her, no, there's no baby. Like, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Like, we don't want you to get your hopes up, but there's no baby. Until they discovered that I was like hidden somewhere in a corner. And I never left. And I'm here. And nobody ever thought my parents could have kids, but here I am. And I believe, I don't know what happened. You can believe in it or not. Maybe it's a coincidence, maybe it's not. Who cares? But that is when like the spirit adventure got into me. And then obviously And my parents started traveling with me since I was very, very young. So we went hiking the Himalayas when I was just 5 years old. And my mom used to work in the oncology department with, people having cancer, dying like left and right, literally. And my parents told me from a very young age, you don't know how long you'll be here. You don't know if your tomorrow is guaranteed. So if there's anything you desire in your life, go get it. Go get it. Go after it. We support you. Whatever you want, make your dreams come true. But don't wait because you don't know how long you'll have. And I feel these two things, like my parents never really being able to because of, governmental restrictions, literally like the same that we're going through right now. Even though if you wanted to, it's very difficult to travel right now. And like having the drive from like, your life is not guaranteed. You don't know if you'll ever turn 50 or 80 or, retire. Hopefully we all will. And let's not like, go into like, oh my God, I'm going to die tomorrow. That's not the vibe. But it's like, we don't know how much time we have here. So let's make the best out of the time that we're given.
Oh my goodness. I just got like, well, the whole like I got chills the whole time you were sharing that story. That is so beautiful. I had no idea. Like basically traveling was in your blood, like even before conception. Like your soul, it was already like on the Sri Lankan mountains. What was it? Yeah, Sri Lankan mountains.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so much wisdom, even like, hey, like the time is now. Oh my God, I love that so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for your inaugural story of like how it came to be. I love that you shared it here on this podcast.
Thank you for having the space for it.
That is incredible. Okay, so you've been traveling basically since you were really young, and your parents were adventurers. They were adventurers, and so that was the environment. And so, I was going to ask, like, did you study in Germany? Like, was that like for most of your time growing up, or did you start studying abroad? Like, how was that experience for you?
I did both. So I went to school, obviously, in Germany. I did an exchange year in Chile when I was 14. I went for an exchange to India for a while. But I literally finished all my studies in Germany. Then I took a year off. I traveled literally across the world. I came back. I'm like, I don't know what I want to study. Like, there's so many things I want to do. I'm like, I'd be really good at being a lawyer because I always get what I want. I always win any kind of argument. Whatever it is, I can get behind the point. I can find the right points to convince you. No problem. I got it. But then I noticed doing an internship in like all these beautiful law firms and stuff, I'm like, you can't really take a lot of time off an adventure. Like it's like a full commitment. And I never wanted that. And then with so many things that I'm like, oh, I could do this, I could do that. I'm like, no, I should study international tourism management. And so I did. And then once I started like studying and understanding more of like all the things behind it, I'm like, oh, that is BS. Excuse me. But so many things we learn in college or university or whatsoever, we never really actually use them. So most of my time I ended up traveling and like coming back like in between for classes or for exams. And then I remember my second semester. I spent more time traveling than I actually spent in classes. And then I had to do an internship. I did my internship in Africa, in Tanzania, and then directly I went to Mexico to do an exchange university program over there, and I ended up staying, and I never came back to Germany. So I did end up studying more time outside of Germany, at least like university wise, than inside of Germany. And I think it was the best that could have happened to me because the things I've learned, the person I've become all the things were like so much more profound than just going to university in Germany.
Oh my God, I had no idea. So you did, you spent time studying in, like where in Africa?
Tanzania.
Oh, Tanzania.
So my idea, yeah, how it came is like we could literally go anywhere we wanted in the world. We had to obviously find an internship, and I was like thinking like, okay, what's the like most adventure wise? I really wanted to learn and grow, right? And I know you're all about growth and courage and all these beautiful things. So I'm like, I've been to South America. I speak Spanish. I love South America. I know if I go there, I'll have an amazing experience. I know that. If I go to the US, it's very difficult with the visa to stay for like half a year. It's like very complicated. So let's not even get started. Asia, yeah, that's very cool, but I love traveling there. I'm not sure if I want to work there. Like the mentality, the work mentality is very different from the European mentality. I'm like, I'm not sure. I should just go there and travel. So I was left with Africa. Like Africa sounds scary. There hasn't really ever been anyone like doing their internship in Africa. And I had only been to South Africa, and South Africa is like, like the safe place to travel. If you want to go to Africa and have like an African adventure, go to South Africa. It's like the most touristy, the most, well known, the safest, all the things. And I'm like, no, I want to do the real thing. I want to do what's scary. I want to do the thing where I like fuck up the most, where I grow the most. Oh my God, so excuse my language.
Oh no, it's all good.
So I'm like, I really want to learn. I want to immerse myself into situations where I know I'm going to hate myself into a situation for having taken that situation. But in hindsight, when I look back at it, I'm proud of myself because of what I went through and what I grew through. I know that that will have been the right decision.
Wow.
So I knew it had to be Africa.
So
that was like my point of thinking.
That's okay. And like you were like college age, right? So like in your
I was like 19 or 20.
That is amazing. And then so what did you do? What was your internship?
Oh my God. It's so funny because when you think about Africa, like the typical things that people tell you, oh, be careful, you're gonna get ripped off, you're gonna find a guy that's like gonna take all your money, you're gonna find someone that's gonna rape you, all the kind of things. I'm like, yeah, I've traveled a lot, like, like 19, 20-year-old mentality, like, you don't tell me shit, I know my shit. That was me. So I figured out all my internship details, like typical German style, like months in advance. I had my contract, all the things, my visa, my flight, all the thing was ready. A week before my flight, I get a Facebook message from a guy from the agency where I was supposed to work at saying, oh, hey, we just figured out it's low season and actually we don't need you here. But if you want, you can still come, but you have to pay us $1,000 a month plus your accommodation. And I'm like, wait, excuse me, you want me to pay you to work for you and $1,000, which like in Tanzania in a village, that's like more than some people earn like in a year, like, excuse me, like, did I miss something? What's going on here? And I'm like, well, we have a contract. And he's like, well, I don't care about the contract. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a valid point, like there's a contract, but if you don't care about the contract, there's nothing I can do. So by contract, buy everything. Now, what am I going to do? I have 1 week to figure this out. I do not want to tell my parents because I look like a total fuck up. If I tell them, excuse me, I have everything, but like I'm supposed to go there in a week and I don't know where I'm going to stay. I don't know what I'm going to do for 6 months, but help. No, that was not the why. I didn't want to scare them. So I like went into the internet. I probably messaged around probably almost all the tourism agencies that are in the country. Wow. I'm like, hey, I'm coming next week. Do you need an intern? Help me. So I found a place literally 2 days later. And I got there, they picked me up, and it was like a terrible situation. So it was in Dar es Salaam, the capital of Tanzania. And I was supposed to stay with one of their employees in their house. Well, little did I know that they lived only 28 kilometers away, which is with the traffic 3 hours each way.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I actually only needed to work 4 or 5 hours a day, but there's no public transportation. So I needed to come with the employee where I'm supposed to stay at his house, which means leaving every day at 5 a.m. and coming back every day at 8 p.m.
Oh,
By life. Well, that was not the only thing. I got there. There's no internet, no Wi-Fi in the house. Like, okay, you can probably deal with that. You're only going to be there to sleep. He shows me the room, mosquitoes everywhere, no mosquito nets, nothing. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take a shower. He's like, oh yeah, there's a little problem with the shower. There's no running water. And I'm like, okay, no problem. I can deal with that. I look at the water bucket and the water is gross, like
oh no.
disgusting. Like there's like filthy stuff, leaves. I don't know what kind of stuff on top of the water. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'm gonna take a shower tomorrow. I'm just gonna go sleep. I lay in the bed and I hear mosquitoes all the time. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot sleep. On top of that, it's 35 degrees and humid as hell. I maybe slept 3 hours. In the morning, I get up, I'm sweaty. I didn't sleep, mosquitoes everywhere. I'm trying to take a shower with this like disgusting water. I'm like, oh my God, I feel even more disgusted now than before. I'm like, I cannot stay here. But at the same time, I could not tell the person who received me in their home,
Yeah.
who opened their home for me to stay there and literally give me like, their private space and tell them, sorry, but your living conditions, I'm like, that's not my standard. I could not get this over my heart because they were so nice to me. And I knew that I'm just this like little first world girl that is not, this living conditions aren't good enough for her. And I felt so bad. I felt so bad. And then I sat down and I calculated all the hours I would spend in transportation during these 6 months. And I said, I cannot. I'm going to throw my life away and I'm not going to enjoy the situation. I got to leave. So I took my stuff and I told him, I'm going to go away for the weekend. I'll be back on Monday. Excuse me, I was probably 20 or 21 years old by then. I did not know better and I didn't want to hurt these people, so I just left and I never came back.
Did you ever
I was
tell
not
them?
in an empowered. No.
Oh my
I think they
goodness.
knew. I think they figured out. They're like, she never came back. I'm like, okay, that's okay. I was not in an empowered place to like bring it across my heart to tell them, you know what, I really appreciate it, but I cannot do this. I felt so bad because, they gave me their home, like they took care of me, even though it was just for a day, but I felt so bad. I felt so bad. I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. I gotta leave. And in that moment, that was the best that I knew how to solve the situation. So I left. Poor people, but also at least I didn't like actually break their heart by telling them. I don't know if that was worse or not, but I like disappeared out of their life. And I took a boat, a ferry to this small island just across the city, Zanzibar. And Zanzibar, that I didn't know, is a Muslim island, whereas Tanzania is a Christian country. And I had known a person there that also has a travel agency who like receives a lot of travelers in his house. He's like, oh yeah, you can come, you can stay with me, you can work in my travel agency, no
Wait, how did you
problem.
know him?
I had I had actually contacted him before through couch surfing. So a lot of times when I travel, not anymore, but when I was younger, I did that a lot. I used couch surfing to meet people, to like meet up with people, to get to know the locals, all these kind of things. Sometimes it's also just good to know someone in the country. So in case something goes wrong, you have a backup or someone knows where you've been last. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
I'm
just
so
like,
I
yeah.
have so many questions.
Yeah. So I had to leave that situation.
Yeah. So when you moved to Zanzibar, you were no longer at your other agency then, like the tour agency.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
I
So then
disappeared. Yeah.
okay, you Who knows what might have happened to Vivi? She might have been like eaten by animals. But anyway.
Oh my God. Well, funny thing is, like months later, I went by their office and their office wasn't there anymore. So who knows what happened to them?
Oh, interesting. Okay. So, all right. So you're in Zanzibar and you had a connection in Zanzibar from couch surfing, which is like, I love that. Well, I know people who use couch surfing. I don't even know if it
Mhm.
still exists, but like that is
It
so,
does.
oh, it does. It's so, it's kind of like I wouldn't, I have like major trust issues. Like I don't like, you know what I mean? Like I would rather, well, Airbnb is not any different, except I think couch surfing is free, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And there, I think there weren't really a lot of Airbnbs.
yeah, I don't think that.
Because it's a tiny, tiny island. It's very local. It's very, very basic. No,
Oh,
no
hey,
Airbnb.
no Airbnbs, and then couch surfing. You met somebody as a contact, and then you ended up staying with his place.
Yeah.
Okay. And that worked out, obviously.
I wish.
Oh
The
my
drama just really
goodness.
started there.
Oh, that's where the story starts. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was one of these, like when I look back at it, I'm like, yeah, I knew it was gonna fuck up. I knew I was gonna hate myself, and I knew I was gonna grow so much from it. It was kind of one of these moments. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if I manifested it. I'm not sure if like I was supposed to happen, but it did. It was a total like mess up. Like the guy started like, being really nice and like helping me out a lot. And then his friend was dating this Romanian chick, or maybe she was Czech, but it doesn't really matter. Um, and they were starting to get into a lot of problems, and then they were involving us in their problems. And it was just like one of these situations where you're like, am I watching a movie or is this real? And then if you've ever been to Africa, or if you ever go and stay there for a long time, you'll understand. If you just go as a tourist, you will think, oh, it's the sweetest, most beautiful place. It's a tropical island. It's gorgeous. The hotels are really nice. People are very sweet. But if you stay there for a long time, you really get to know people and their intentions, and it's fucked up. It is so fucked up. So basically, what happens, like Thailand is the kind of place where a lot of like old white guys go to like hook up with young Asian girls. Yeah, it's the other way around there. So a lot of young or sometimes even old white women go there to hook up with black guys. And it's not just that they hook up with one, right? Like it literally is like the guys are dating a different girl every whatever they're comfortable, like a week, every 2 weeks. Like you would see, like the guy that I stayed with, his cousin, we would meet him and he was like presenting as his girlfriend. And 2 weeks later, he would come and with a different girl, presenting her as a girlfriend. And I'm like, well, I'm confused. Like, I'm not following anymore. Right. And that would happen all the time. Well, you think, okay, he has a girlfriend, he breaks up, he has a new girlfriend, like, not a big deal. No, he has all of these girlfriends at the same time and they don't know about each other. And this, I at first I thought, yeah, okay, there's a few people like that. It happens. These people are everywhere. No, it's literally almost the whole island that is like that. And there's people having babies with one person, and then the person goes back to Europe. And while their wife is in Europe, they hook up with other girls and, make them believe they're like the love of their life and make them fall in love with that. And I'm like, where am I? What is this place? And
Wow.
it was just like a horror story. And, I ended up like losing so much money from people asking me to like help them out. And they had like the most horrifying stories and like problems and situations. And, me having a good heart, being a young, innocent girl, even though I've heard about these stories a million times and people have told me a million times, don't give anyone money. Well, I did. Once you're in the situation, it's different. I've never seen that money again. I'm over it. It's okay. But there's so much drama that happened, like so much, so much. It was terrible. People hooking, like trying to hit on you all the freaking time. That bad that I started that we the guy that I stayed with, we started telling that we're in a relationship so that people wouldn't hit at me that much. And then he was traveling for a little bit, and his friends always said, oh, you know what, you can actually, when you get bored, you can come over to my place, you can have some fun.
To
And I'm
you?
like, yeah,
Oh,
all
interesting.
the time. Like these things would happen all the time. And I'm like, what is this place, where am I?
So like what, okay, so but your host seemed like he was a cool person.
Yeah, that's what I thought for a very long time, until he stole a lot of money from me, and until he told me that it was very fucked up. It was very fucked up. I'm not sure if I should share the story. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. It's a very fucked up story. So him and I, right? Like we were like, we lived together for a long time. So sometimes we were just like, you know, like being friends, being super close, having a little whatsoever from time to time. And then he would leave to Europe for, I don't know, a few weeks. And he told me, don't trust anyone. You're in charge of the house. Here's the car. Take care of everything. You know how everything works. You know where to go. Don't trust anyone but my best friend. And I'm like, okay, I trust you. You know, I trust you. Here's where you come in with your trust issues.
Mm.
And I trusted him. So his friend runs a hotel on the other side of the island, and it's low season. And we've hung out with him many times, many times. He does couch surfing as well. And I actually don't want to say that he does couch surfing, because I don't want people to get scared from couch surfing, because it's actually not a bad thing. I've used it so many times and it was always beautiful. But he's that kind of person that would like invite people and then would say, oh, let's have a party, let's drink. And he would drink water because, you know, he's Muslim, he's not supposed to drink. Have the girls drink, have the girls smoke some weed whatsoever, give them some drugs, get them fucked up, and then take advantage of them.
Oh.
And it was really bad. It was really bad because people in your face are so nice and you want to believe them the world. They're very sweet talkers. But when you really get to know them and their actions, you're like, holy shit, you're a horrible person.
Okay, so like this isn't, I don't know if it's necessarily, it might be because it's like the third world developing country where they see you as like being, you know, from Germany, Europe. And so like I feel like I want to be respectful of other cultures and people from other
Oh
countries.
no, it's I really like, I got to know the whole country as well. The country itself is good. Like I really believe there's really good people. And I love other countries, but that specific island is like the horror island. Like other people that I've known that really live there, like they had really bad experiences as well. But let's not go into all the bad stuff. Let's talk about some positive stuff.
You have traveled to what, 70 countries or more? Is it?
Yeah, 70.
Oh my goodness. Okay. And you've been able to do it on basically like on a shoestring budget. Is it? No, no, no. Let's take that back because because
Yes and no. I've
yeah.
never really had a budget.
Right. You've been able to manifest a lot of opportunities, and which I think that is amazing. And like, I have to commend you for being open to learning and being open to experiences. And even like as a woman, I think there's like a risk, and
Mhm.
you've always just been, well, I'm going to figure it out.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And you know, so many times, you know that for sure, that if you have an idea and you want to do something and people try to talk you out of it. Like that happened to me when I started traveling down South Africa, actually from Tanzania for my internship, down all the way to Swaziland. So it's a tiny, 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 tiny country that's now called as Swanti. Um, and I decided to road trip it to really get to know the culture and the people more, and not just say, you know, I'm doing all the touristy safari kind of things. I've seen the country, I know the country. I really wanted to get to know people. And everyone told me it's a crazy idea, you're stupid. you look different, you're very tall, you're going to get in a lot of problems. And I couch surfed and I road tripped the whole way down to really get to know people, to really get in contact with the country, the culture. And I have to say it was an amazing experience because I didn't get in any problems. I wasn't robbed once. I left my bags with my money and my laptop and my passport in the bus, in places, unsupervised, and nothing ever happened. I was so safe. I felt so protected. Yes, sometimes I probably overpaid, but that happens everywhere in the world where we are seen as privileged travelers. And but the general experience and the gain of knowledge was so good and so beautiful that I would not want to miss this situation. So I just wanted to bring this back because if you just listened to the first part of the podcast, you would probably think, oh my God, she hated Africa, which I did not. It's just this one little thing, right? But the rest of it, it was a really, really beautiful, beautiful experience, and such a perspective shift, because what we think about different countries is mainly through media, right? And if you hear, especially I don't know, Middle Eastern countries, such a bad place, bad people, bad place, don't go there. Even if you enter the US, they search my passport and they ask me, have you been to any Middle Eastern countries? And I had this lady telling me, you should never go there. These are terrible people. Don't go there. And I asked her, have you been there? Do you know if they're actually bad people? And she said, no, why would I ever go there? They're all terrorists. And I looked at her, I'm like, what are you talking about? You have no idea what you're talking about. You've been conditioned to say these things and to believe these kind of things. And I really believe it's important to go to the place and to find out yourself.
I love that, because that's one of the things about traveling that I feel especially we need to see other cultures. We need exposure, right? So that we can make up our own decisions. And we know, I think it's different cultures and the fear of the unknown that we create these stories that aren't true. And then we make them inhuman. We make people inhuman, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just it's what we hear in the media and the news that, that creates these feelings of discrimination. So I know
that's terrible.
Yeah. So I love how you just what you're saying about have you ever been there? And your experience is different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so many times, if we go to a place saying it will be terrible, people there are terrible, we manifest that into our experience. But if we say, okay, let me go and find out, I'm open to the experience, I'm open to really experience the essence and the spirit of the country and of the people and of the culture, we open ourselves to a completely different experience. And I feel that is very important.
I love that. So then how did you end up in Ottawa?
How did you get there? I wish I knew. No, I know. So last year, there's this cruise called the Nomad cruise, and it's literally for nomadic people, bring them together on a cruise, 10, 12 days. We crossed the Atlantic Ocean from Barcelona to Brazil. And I ended up in Brazil, in a country that I've been before, that is a very beautiful country, but I don't speak Portuguese. So I knew I didn't want to stay there for too long. And my goal had been to go to Colombia. But tickets from Colombia and tickets from Brazil to Colombia were more expensive than tickets from Europe to Colombia. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. I'm not going to pay crazy amount of money to go to Colombia if I can just, fly there from Europe anytime. And I got really upset for a while. And then I heard people talking about house sitting a lot, and staying in a beautiful place, and just really experiencing a country through the eyes of a local, not necessarily staying in a hotel, but really living in a place, living in the neighborhood, immersing yourself in the culture. And I thought that going to Canada during winter would be a really good experience, because I have lived probably 7 years of summer. literally following the sun, right? And I'm like, I think a winter experience that is extreme winter, like Canadian kind of winter style, would be a really good experience. And after having been to 70 countries, because on that trip with the cruise, I hit my 70th country, right? Like I think I'm open for it. I'm ready for an experience. I don't want to chase like countries just to check them off the boxes. I'm now looking for experiences that tell a story and that shape who I am. Because if I just stay in the same environment over and over again, I don't expose myself to new things, and my character doesn't get shaped as much as when I go to places that my memory doesn't know how to act or what to do in certain situations, right? So I found a really beautiful place to stay in this like small city, like 3 hours north of Toronto. And I ended up staying there for 5 weeks. And then I found another hosted in Ottawa. And I came here and I stayed here. And then the pandemic hit and I'm still here.
And then the pandemic. So there you are. Oh my God, that's so funny and amazing. Remind me, so in human design, your profile is a 3-5?
3-5 or 3-6. Yeah, something like that.
I gotta look this up. I have done Vivi's
my
chart. Oh my God. As you're talking, I'm like, she has to be a 3-5.
Okay.
Yes,
I love the reading that you did for me, by the way. Everyone that's listening that hasn't done a reading, sorry, ad break, and really needs to do a reading because they're so good. Like they're so profound. And you're like, how do you know me? I'm like, did you spy on me? How do you know all these beautiful things? No, it's so good. So everyone who hasn't done a reading, reach out to Michelle.
Oh, thank you, Vivi. I appreciate that. Yeah, you are a 3-5, which is so perfect because the whole thing about a 3-5 is you're looking for experiences. Like this is like what shapes you. And so like you're living your design through traveling. Like it's so amazing. Yeah, it really is. Oh my goodness. So the work that you do then, okay, first of all, I love that you were saying you're now seeking experiences, not just to check off boxes, like traveling, not just to say, oh, I've been to this country, I've been to this country, but to really seep into the experience, to learn, to let that shape you, build character. That's an incredible way to do that because you're living life, right? You're really like experiencing life. And then really seeping into that culture. I have like such deep respects for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then your work. So we're in Figure 6 together. You have a lot of offerings. So tell share what's your vision behind like the work that you do.
I always get shy when I'm asked for my vision because I'm like, it's so big, I should not tell it because people laugh at me. My actual vision is I try to keep it as short as possible.
I want to say something. I just had this hit. Like people who laugh at people who have big vision means that they have small vision. I'm just gonna say that. People who have big visions will never laugh at somebody else with a big vision. So anyway, continue.
Thank you. So part of it is definitely to build like this massive adventure empire and really empower people. And funny that I say that word empower because I never use it, but it's coming through right now. Empower people to really make the best out of their life and love the life they're living, really getting to know themselves and the world. And I feel you can't really get to know everything of who you are while staying always in one place. I don't know, maybe it's my human design, but for me that would not be possible. And I really feel the more people travel, the more people open themselves up to experiences, to really living and enjoying life, creating a life that they fully and truly love. It's better for all of us because we learn so much, we shape who we are, and the world just becomes a better place through that. And everyone is happier.
I love that. And what if so right now, like very few of us can travel. So I'm kind of like, I guess I'm kind of leading for you to like, well, what if for those who can't travel, like what would you say?
Well, you don't actually have to travel like, to Africa, Australia, or like super far away. You can really get to know your surroundings, and I bet you there are so many beautiful experiences to be lived within an hour or two from where you live, where everyone lives. And most of the time, we don't take advantage of these places because we're so like stuck pretty much in our routine. We have our favorite places, we have the things that we do, we have our friends that we like literally like keep repeating our favorite things over and over again. But how often do we actually sit down and say, okay, well, Michelle, what's close to Seattle, a beautiful place where you haven't been that you would like to explore? Maybe once a year, maybe twice. Like that's for the general human, right? But a lot of times we get caught up in whatever, work, business, life stuff going on, that oftentimes we don't do the things that are in our area or even in our city.
Yeah.
So there's so much to be said you can still, and you don't have to travel. You can live your life fully by immersing yourself in experiences that are literally around you.
I'm so glad you said that because like even for me, right? Like I realized I haven't traveled internationally for like 5 years, almost 6 now, since it's like yeah, that was supposed to break in Japan, but that didn't happen due to COVID, right? All of that. But anyway, I'm so glad you said like just even locally, like even in my neighborhood, like I was probably living in my neighborhood right now for 2 years until I realized, oh my God, there's like a beautiful park. Like that's just like a 15-minute drive. And like I didn't even know. And I was like, oh my God. And like even the drive to the park was beautiful because it's like I have the lake views the whole way through. And even spending summer in my neighborhood and exploring different streets and looking at the houses, I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And then like paying attention to the different textures, I just started like turning on my senses. But I guess if I wasn't challenging myself to do I would have just missed it. And so I love what you were saying just about even locally.
Yeah. And even like when you like once you start exploring this like one new neighborhood or this one path, we often tend to use the same way to get there.
Yeah.
Or like when you go to the supermarket, or I don't know, like your favorite shop whatsoever, we always drive the same way. Like we're conditioned to like, "Whoop, same way, same way, same way," instead of like exploring or walking there or walking a different way. Or what I love doing is like when I go for a walk, setting an intention to like, focus on, let's say, windows, or focus on like animals. And you really like train your senses on seeing different kind of things. And it opens up a whole different world of things you've never seen. Because even when you drive away like a million times almost, we get blind to the things that are actually there because we don't really look. And I love what you said about like really training your senses and looking at what is there.
I love that because it's true. Like I go on my walk now and it's like, whoop, that's my path. And I just love what you were saying about looking at different windows. I think that's my homework for tomorrow. Look at different windows of houses.
Yeah, I love that. You can choose whatever you want. It doesn't have to be windows. That was just an example.
Yeah.
Or like look at like, like I don't know, like things you desire to manifest in the future in your in your life. Is it like your favorite car, or is it like, that kind of like shape of a house, or is it like a kind of driveway, or, whatsoever?
I love it. Okay. So then, how can people get to know you? Like through social media, all the things, and then your offerings.
Okay, so people can get to know me through literally wherever they want. I'm on Facebook. I share a lot on Facebook. I have my own group where I'm now doing a lot of like live videos and just talks and chats and like sharing stories and all the fun stuff. It's called Explore to Evolve. And I do have a YouTube channel. It's called Adventure Your World. And I'm on Instagram at Adventure Your World. That's probably all the beautiful places people can find me.
Amazing. And then when people work with you for like one-on-one, what's the context? Is it like how, what's the context?
It's literally what they desire. So I do all kinds of sorts, like if they desire to travel more, if they desire to shape like their lifestyle, like just getting out of the routine to say, I desire to create more experiences, to build more memories, to really be more present in my life and get to know more of who I am and how I react and how I shape myself in my environment, these kind of things. But also if you desire to, create more adventures, to go out more, like becoming an adventurous person, making these experiences beautiful, because just because you go out and you travel doesn't mean you actually enjoy these experiences, right? You got to make them like memorable and beautiful and the way you desire to make them as well. Like that's a really big part of it as well.
I love it. Thank you so much, Vivi, for sharing your stories and for just sharing your experiences. It's beautiful, and cheers to growth and to seeking it.
Oh yeah, growth is so beautiful and it's so important.
Mm-hmm. Well, for those of you listening, please share this episode. You can tag us both on Insta. Stories is always a great way, or Facebook stories, and follow Vivi, get to know her. And you have like a few workbooks that people can purchase to help them ramp up their exploration.
Exactly. I have Explore, and I'm currently writing my second workbook. It's called Travel Fasting, The Art of Manifesting Travel.
Oh my God, that sounds really juicy. So get that as well. All the links are in show notes. Thank you so much, Vivi, for your time.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Take care.
That's so beautiful. Thank you.
Join our free private Facebook group community, Sacred Emergence, to receive more connection, guidance, and support. And take part in our 5-day Inner Confidence Challenge to not only boost your confidence, but to help activate your inner leadership. Details in the show notes. Thank you for listening to the Sacred Emergence podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and thank you in advance for sharing this with others who can benefit. Until next time.